to the program. Welcome to Inspiring Wellness. I am Julie House and I have my dear friend here, Sheree. A lot of you guys I know recognize her. She is the owner of Uplift Beauty Lounge in, do they consider that Maysville?
Augusta.
Augusta, in Augusta, Kentucky. And I actually wanted to start off there. We didn't talk about chatting about the salon, but I have to start there because I've been going to her shop now for a couple of years. And here's what I want to say about that. First, Sheree, I've had more compliments on this haircut. So I got my haircut, I guess, about 6 months ago, maybe a little longer for the first time. Cut all my hair off. I got more compliments on this cut than I ever have since I did do that Rachel cut way back in 95. I did do that cut and I got a lot of compliments on that one as well, but I think I've gotten more, even like random people like that I barely know or they love this cut. So thank you.
You're welcome.
She is fabulous at what she does, but I also want to brag on your salon for a minute. And there's a reason for this, as for Christians. I want to speak to especially Christian women out there, but I want to brag on your salon for a minute. I've told you this before, but I'm so serious about us being as women encouraging other women, right? Mm-hmm. And I have always said this. You spend a lot of time at the salon, right?
Yes.
And when I go, I spend a lot of time there. When you go to get your hair done, you spend a lot of time in a chair, talking to that person, talking to the other women around you. And I personally feel like that's too much time to waste. Right?
Absolutely.
It's too much time to leave feeling not uplifted. Right? Or encouraged. And I have been in salons over the years where I've left exhausted over conversations, or I've had a pit in my stomach when I left the salon because of the music that was played the whole time I was there, the conversations I overheard around me, 3 or 4 hours sitting there listening to other people gossip and just talk about other people. And when I walk into your salon, when you walk into Sheree's salon, I mean, this is the truth, you will feel relaxed. You automatically feel the presence of the Lord. The presence of the Lord is welcome. Yes. And then we talk about the presence of the Lord for 4 hours.
Absolutely.
That's a big difference. Now that environment I feel like other stylists, Christian stylists, need to know that. Like if you do hair, if you do makeup, if you have clients that you bring into an atmosphere as a Christian, part of your job is to uplift and encourage them, don't you think?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you don't go in there and hear gossip. You're not going to hear gossip. You're not going to hear backbiting. You're not going to hear any of that stuff. You're going to hear worship music. If you bring Emmy, I bring Emmy with you. She's going to make me a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
And we're just going to have a good time in the Lord. Yeah. So, you got to make your way out to Augusta and get your hair done by Sheree or one of the sweet ladies out there. Come see them. So Sheree didn't even know I was going to do that, but I really do think that that's important. I just wanted to encourage, again, seriously, other hairstylists out there, because I feel like, that was a burden on your heart, wasn't it, Sheree?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say too, is everything that I have with the salon is nothing to do with me. It's all to give God the glory for everything. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for him, I honestly wouldn't have that salon. Just to see, this is my 10th year of doing hair, and just to see how bad I wanted it before God's timing and how he made me wait. Yeah. He made me really wait. But if I didn't wait and I tried to do it without him in the center of it, how it would not be what it is right now. And I just want to give him all the praise and the glory for that, because it's truly the most perfect timing when everything happened and when we started renovating. And that's a testimony. It'll take a long time, but it's amazing. Yeah, it was definitely, I feel like as stylists, we always want to, that's kind of why we go into this business, is to make people feel better about themselves. But I tried to come into it from a different different point of view, because I do want to make you feel better and look better on the outside and make you have that confidence. But I want you to be spiritually fed when you leave my chair. I want you to go out my door being more blessed than when you come in. So,
amen.
Yep.
And that's, perfect for what we do here at Equip for More. We want to inspire wellness.
Absolutely.
Wellness in your mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
Healthier in your body and a closer walk with God. So absolutely. Sheree also does Bible studies once a month in her salon. I'm trying to get back out there. We were just talking about that before we went live. I want to do a praise moves class out there. We're going to chat a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to tell you, Sheree, I'm coming out soon. We're trying to get me rescheduled. I'm a little overdue, but just an FYI, I like the length of my hair right now, but I want to go a little crazy with my hair color. Okay. So see what you can do with
Sounds
that.
Good.
I always love to look really different when I leave.
Right.
So if we can't do it with the cut, let's do it with the color.
Yep.
So I brought Sheree on, not just to talk about her wonderful salon and her faith walk with the Lord, but to talk about her health and wellness journey, because she is doing something that's a little bit unique. I mean, we have some folks that do this as well, but a lot of times at Equip for More, it's one spouse. I've got a husband, mostly wives, and every now and then we get couples that go on this journey together. But Sheree and her husband, Joe, embarked on this journey together at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Would you say?
Yep.
So she and Joe have been on this journey now for a couple of months, and I wanted her to share with you a couple of things and just kind of help anyone out there. So many of you, this is one busy mama right here. She's got two very busy little beautiful boys.
No.
Emmy gets to hang out with Phineas in the nursery a couple times a month, and she always tells me stories about how adorable he is. Couple of very busy boys, a busy husband. She is a business owner.
Yep.
And so those are the things that usually combine to say, no time for mama.
Yes.
No time for my health and wellness. But Sheree has found her way through some of that, and we're going to discuss that. The other thing that we're sharing today is she taught me a new recipe. We're going to make that on here, and we're going to try it out for the first time too. So make sure you stick around to try out that. So I said, Sheree, you and Joe are doing this together. And I said we were going to talk about praise moves because I teach a praise moves class once a week, right? Catch this. Praise moves, for those of you who don't know, the Christian alternative to yoga. And just, again, another long story. We won't get into it here. But yoga is a new age practice. It's very dangerous for Christians. So this is the Christian alternative to that. And I teach that class once a week in Alexandria at TAC Fitness. And who comes? Not Sheree.
Not me.
Joe comes, right?
Yeah.
And people do giggle, men coming to this class. I get more men coming to this class. But here's why I think my husband has never missed. I've been doing it since November. He's the one that wanted me to start doing it. He understands. Men understand the power of strength training and stretching. They really do. I'll have young guys come up to me at the gym and they'll be like, I really want to take this class. We take yoga and football and stuff like that. And I don't have time to get into them with them about yoga, but I'm trying to pull them in. But they understand, one of the young men, I mean, he's only like 18 or 19. He's like, yeah, man, if you want to strengthen a muscle, you got to stretch it. And I'm like, that's absolutely right. So Joe comes to the class and it's a ball having him, but you and Joe are doing this together. So talk to us about what it's like doing this with or without your spouse. Like, does it help doing this with Joe?
Oh man, absolutely. So I'm a firm believer that the husband leads the family.
Yeah.
So when I'm kind of monkey see, monkey do when it comes to that kind of stuff. So whenever Joe isn't leading in a certain way, I feel kind of like it almost like kind of ripples down the family line here.
Yeah.
But I have to say he's always leading, and he's always kind of the one to make the first move on something. So he's been talking about actually doing your program for months now. Like, I know we've talked to you on and off and everything, and I'm like, well, we'll do it. Let's do it. And he's like, you need to get Julie's info so we can start doing this and all this stuff. So he actually pushed me to like make the first move and like to contact you and to kind of get set up on your app and everything. So once we did that and everything, I mean, I have to say it's so good to do it with your spouse, because you don't have to worry about having like 2 separate meals that you're cooking like for dinner. You don't have to worry about like when you go out to eat to feel pressured. Well, they want to go somewhere, you want to go somewhere else because maybe not eat so bad or anything. But it's so much easier, and it's just it just makes everything easier just doing it with your spouse. And like I said, him leading and doing these praise moves things, like he hardly ever does anything for himself. So like I'm just so proud of him to step out of his comfort zone. And not only that, but he doesn't care what people think about him. Yeah. So he doesn't care to do those kind of things. And I just applaud him for that, because I have a really independent ego that I try to set to the side sometimes. But he's definitely one to not care what anybody thinks, to go out of his comfort zone if it's going to better him or better his family. So
and you guys have done so well. You guys we have teal stars every week in our program. Right, Joe and Sheree are basically almost always on there. Joe was one of the biggest losers one of the months. So you guys are doing really, really well. So loss so far, kind of as a couple, how much have you guys lost, and what does that look like?
It every week kind of varies, because sometimes we'll have bad days, but I feel like maybe over 20, maybe closer to 30 pounds together.
So that's amazing. And I always say that's like one small child, right?
Right.
I learned this a long time ago, and it really does make a lot of sense. You know, sometimes people say, well, I want to lose, X amount, or, 10 pounds doesn't seem like a lot, or 20 pounds may not feel like a lot. Think about this. Number one, every 10 pounds a person loses changes a clothing size, and it also changes medication. So if you're on, medicine for diabetes or high blood pressure, you can rest assured that every 10 pounds you lose, you'll want to check with your doctor, and they're going to reduce at least the dosage on your medication. So that's one thing. Then I heard this one time, I was reading, I guess, about, the power of 10 pounds or 20 pounds. And they said, use this as an example. Go into the grocery store and pick up like a 10-pound bag of potatoes and just carry it like right here, try to make yourself carry it right here around the store. If you do that, that puts a lot of pressure on your knees, on your lower back, on your arms. So it makes a difference. But 30 pounds is hugely significant. You guys started this year. What, prompted you, or why do you think now is the time, would you say?
Because we have honestly in the past probably exhausted every other way to lose weight. And this time it was more about not just losing weight. It was setting aside addictions and idols, honestly, that we had. I can talk about the 40-day sugar fast that I did if you want me to. But setting those aside and really putting God first in this aspect of our life, too. So we've always been, we know, that God comes first in a lot of areas in our life. And it should be all areas. And we're like, why are we not doing it in the way that we eat? Why are we doing it in our finances? Why are we doing it on Sundays when we go to church? Or, and all these things. But then, we'd go out to eat and just gorge afterwards after church. And it's kind of I just felt dirty from it,
Right.
But and also we are getting older. I hit the big 3-0 in last September.
Aww.
So I'm
You're still a baby. She's still a baby.
I know. But I feel like I've had a couple health issues in the past and everything, but God's helped me overcome those. But I don't want the way that I eat to be a factor in those things. And I was so stressed all the time, and I felt like I never had the energy once I've worked all day. I am really busy. When I come home, it's just I don't want to play with my kids, or I didn't want to I just let's get our baths, let's eat dinner, let's go to bed. And I wanted more out of life
Mm-hmm.
than that, and I wanted to feel better when I got home. I didn't want to give my clients or my workplace all that I had and then my family get the least of what I had. So it's definitely helped me to not feel so drained.
Yeah.
I still have really long days and I'm still human, but I definitely don't feel like I did before. So
Yeah. Do you think some of that, you mentioned the 40-day sugar fast.
Yeah.
And so you did the 40-day sugar fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we have inside the app, we have like community rooms.
Right.
And so Sheree, we have a 40-day sugar fast community room.
Yep.
And so Sheree took part in that. You talk about idols, because I am a firm believer that like this is an addiction. I've always said
Absolutely.
that, you know, it is an idol. I have used food all my life to satisfy cravings, to comfort, to relieve stress, to remove hurt, to do all the things that the Bible tells me God wants to do. And the Bible also tells me that anything I put before God is an idol. So you can't tell me that when I use food to satisfy things that God wants to satisfy, that that's not an idol. That is absolutely an idol, and it's absolutely an addiction. And so I totally agree with you there. So we created the 40-day sugar fast for those people who wanted to really concentrate on eliminating, especially processed sugar.
Yeah.
So talk about when you said, you know, you definitely don't feel like you used to. What does that look like from the perspective of the 40-day sugar fast and eliminating some of that?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say, Joe, even though we're doing this together, I feel like we've come to the conclusion that maybe what's good for me isn't what's good for him.
Yeah.
So the 40-day sugar fast isn't something that Joe did, but I do feel like it helped him fast that in a sense, because if I wasn't eating it, it wasn't there for him to eat either.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so the 40-day sugar fast, I feel that it was an idol for me. Sugar has always been an idol for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was something Joe doesn't have to have something sweet after he eats a meal. I did. Always.
Yep.
Always.
I'm there too. Same.
I cannot leave a meal with a salty taste in my mouth. It has to be a sweet taste.
Right?
Is how I used
Where's
to be.
the chocolate after
Yes.
dinner?
Yes. Anything like that. And I mean, I just craved it so much. And I knew like, I've fasted in the past, of course, for different reasons, but I've never fasted just solely sugar, like artificial sugar, processed sugar. And I'm like, I don't know that I can do this. I mean, this is next to being addicted to my phone,
Right.
you know? So that's my next thing that I'm fasting over here.
Yeah.
But I felt that when I first started doing it, I had to give it to the Lord because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it on my own. I know that even during the fast and everything, I just completely, like, I would have moments that I'm like, oh Lord, I need you, like right now, because I am not going to be able to do this on my own. But the way that I felt then and the way that I felt now, now that my 40-day sugar fast had ended, it ended like mid-February, and I was like so relieved to have that over with, not in the sense so I could run and get sugar, but because it broke that, I want to call it a curse on me, honestly. It broke that to the point that I don't feel that I have to have something sweet. Now, my little boy just had his second birthday this past weekend, so of course I ate a cupcake, and things like that. So but I just don't feel that I have to have it anymore. Right. I don't have to have it, and I don't have to continue feeling like, okay, I have to have something after every meal like I used to. And it's just, it makes me feel better, not only physically but spiritually too. Yes. I don't feel like that's one less idol that I had before God now. So
and the whole thing about fasting too is it's not always, even in a sugar fast like this, it's not always just about doing away with the sugar and breaking the addiction. A lot of it has to do with being able to get some clarity so that you can learn to seek God for these issues over the sugar. You know, and that's what I think is so powerful about a fast like this. And I've heard from you and other people that have taken part in the 40-day sugar fast, that it also teaches you how to you get a clearer picture of how much sugar you're actually ingesting and how dangerous it is.
Crazy.
We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it also gives you that opportunity to understand, where you can get more natural forms of sugar and how you can satisfy those cravings. You can't do that until you step back and step away from some of those things.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have already alluded to this. And I love so much of what you're saying, because it's been everything for me, in that I never thought I could lose 50 pounds.
Right.
Like, never. I tried everything all my life. It wasn't until I realized that, God, I can't, but you can, which is kind of like our unwritten motto.
Right.
God, I can't, but you can. And I do have to call on him. If you're not making progress in a journey like this, the only thing that is and you have set your mind to put God in this, the only thing that is standing in your way is you.
Yeah.
And that has been the case for me time and time again, even after all these years. It still works the same way it always works, when I really lay it down at the foot of the cross and give it to Jesus and ask him to work through me.
Right.
Anytime my pride gets in the way, and I either say things like, I can't do it, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, my life, my this, that is my pride. And that is not me inviting God into this journey. That's been hard to learn. It's an excuse.
Yeah, it's an excuse.
Yeah. There will always be situations. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
Life will always be busy. Life will always get in the way. Health will always get in the way. But, I've got to fight for this, because Satan wants nothing more than to take me back into that wilderness where I was, and it was a wilderness. But you already kind of alluded to this, where God fits in and how he speaks to you now.
Yeah.
So talk to us more about that. Like, how do you feel like you hear God more clearly?
Yeah, so I absolutely do. And I feel also that I'm able to recognize those temptations more now too. Yeah. I feel like I've definitely had my eyes open in a different sense than I never want to say that, like, since I've been saved, that I've tried obviously not to live in a worldly way, but with my eating I was. And now I felt like I have a new revelation of just being able to see those temptations and being able to, like, okay, if I am struggling one day or something like that, I can give it to him and I can pray about it. And I always loved your testimony too of when you just said you laid flat out on the ground and just gave it to him. Like, you have to do that sometimes, because if you don't, then you still have that little bit of pride thinking you can do it on your own. And honestly, if you are addicted to it or it's an idol like it was for me, I couldn't do it on my own. You have to give it to him. Like, that's the only option.
It is your only option.
Yeah.
And the thing about, I always think, okay, so why, we have a lot of people in our Equip for More family even. I talk about this a lot. 2018 and 2019, we were setting records like we had never set before. I mean, we saw people close to 100-pound losses and 50 and 40. I mean, it was just really common. It got to a place where it was really common. And I hate to give COVID any kind of credit, but it really did mess some things up. And here we are, we're post-COVID. I think new kinds of fear set in that we had never seen before. New kinds of stress set in that we had never seen before. But now we have this whole kind of like a group of people that know even to give it back to God. And I'm even in this group sometimes, but yet we still don't. We still just go, okay, I'm going to journal today and I'm going to this and I'm going to that. And I've been in these seasons where, like, sometimes I will hear people say, that's not even working like it was. Yeah. And I had to really step back and go, okay, God, where are you in this? And he's like, that's a good question. Where am I in this? Because Julie, I remember when I took you on that journey of those first 50 pounds, you did lay flat on your face. Literally. When's the last time you did that? And I had to look in the mirror and think, wow. This pride has crept back in, like, what to do. And so just do it. But I was like subtly
Yeah.
leaving God out of the equation. And I mean,
But isn't that how the enemy works?
yes.
Subtly
Yeah.
taking you out.
Very subtly.
Yep.
Very subtly.
Yeah.
So, Sheree, I have never seen folks not succeed that have her mindset, and that is that realization. Listen, this will never get done without God's supernatural power. It just won't.
Yeah.
The thing about an addiction like this is it's an acceptable, legal, in your face for the rest of your life kind of addiction.
And
okay?
you grow up in it too. And
Yeah.
and it's not, I'm not like blaming my family, because it was passed down for generations, and you just think that's what it is. It's normal, and
Yeah.
that's how you should eat, and it's good, and I enjoy eating. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Right.
I've always enjoyed food, but to let it consume me the way that it has.
Yes, in your mind.
In my mind.
It consumed my mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think about, addictions like alcohol, drugs, pornography.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit and look at porn in front of your family, right? If you're an alcoholic, and even if alcohol is acceptable, if your family knows you're an alcoholic, you're not going to drink in front of them.
Yeah.
You cannot get away from eating in front of your family.
Yeah.
And so they don't always know. My family didn't know the addiction that I had to food.
Right.
So they didn't know how it messed with my mind. And so it is so sneaky, and the only way to freedom is God showing you the freedom that you can have in food, because we have to eat.
Yeah.
We have to eat. So somebody that's watching, and I believe somebody is, who has maybe even been there, done that, and this is touching you.
Yeah.
This is pulling at you, tugging at your heart, your mind. Your heart is pounding like, oh, I need that. I need to get back on track.
Yeah.
Sheree, what would you say to somebody who's struggling like that right now?
If I can do it with God, you can do it with God. The struggle was real, but the moment that I decided that it was nothing that I could do, again, we've touched this over and over again, it's not about the meal preps, it's not about the intermediate fasting, it's not about any kind of certain diet plan that you can do. It is about literally laying it down as if you lay down every aspect of your life to God. Okay, when you got saved and you surrender it to Him, why did we leave this aspect out?
I know.
So when I come to that, and God kind of showed me that, then I was like, oh, like, this is what it means when you say we sin daily, we need to take up our cross daily, because we may not do those obvious sins, those illegal sins, but eating in the way, I just encourage you to put Him first. Don't be so spiritually malnourished that you can't get physically malnourished.
Amen.
Because I feel like that's where it needs to start, is in your spiritual, in your relationship with God. Honestly.
Definitely.
Always, with any aspect of your life, not just food. Any aspect.
Yeah.
So.
And as you were talking about that, it just reminded me, like, we can get so hung up on that number on the scale. It's not about being a certain number, a size. It's not about being a certain number on a scale. And I know we can get hung up on that, but it is about feeling your best for you so that you can do what God called you to do. And no matter, the bottom line is, there can be things that hinder us. People say all the time, I'm getting older, my metabolism slows, is slowed down. I'll be 51 in June. I refuse to accept any kind of lie that Satan is putting out there to tell me that I can't be my best at 51, or at whatever age I am going to be my best for God, period. It's kind of like, I don't know, I was going to say this at the end, but I'm going to say it now. When the other thing that I did early on was I said to God, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what, I just know that I will through you, Jesus. I will through you.
And I feel like it's good to, if you are struggling and stuff, just know that those lies are from the enemy.
They are.
Like, I feel like, honestly, daily, just not even in my food life, but just daily, I hear the enemy whisper to me, you failed at being a mother, you failed at being a wife today, you failed at work, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. And you have to like bind those thoughts, because he will attack you in your mind. And if I allowed everything that I hear like that every day to consume me, like, it's hard to tell where I would be at right now. So you definitely have to bind those thoughts and rebuke them in the name of Jesus.
You do. I tell people all the time, if God called you to equip for more, if he called you to even tune into this live stream, if he called you to this, he wants to do something in your health and wellness journey, period. I believe that. And eating starts in your mind. Gluttony and overeating starts in your mind. So absolutely, Sheree, we've got to bind those thoughts. And I know we're going to talk about a recipe here, but it's a good recipe. And you said this, you nailed this. It's not about, don't start with the meal plan. Start with your relationship with Jesus. Let him dictate your cravings and dictate what you want to eat. So I got to be honest with Sheree. I tell everybody this all the time. They always say, you must cook all the time. You must this, you must that. Those are lies. I don't. I'm about as simple as you can get in your eating. If it takes longer than a couple minutes, I'm not going to eat it. And this never did. And I always said that I was going to do this. I would forget. So we're showing you Sheree's overnight oats, and I did make them, and I'm going to try them for the first time. But before I try them, we're going to make them together. We're going to make some overnight oats and stick them in the freezer. Everybody, if I have these in my basement, you have these in your basement, because I don't have anything. But I found a bunch of mason jars in my basement, and this one's even cute. So washed it out. I don't know what it's from. Have no idea.
It'll
work. So Sheree, you make this, and I'll tell people kind of like what's in it, or you can too, but this was hers, and so we're starting out with, old-fashioned oats, right?
Yes. So I'm going to clarify something. I did not make this up.
Well, that's okay. You kind of do. So, if you put your own spin on it, if you put it together, we call it your recipe.
Right. Well, so it started when I was on the sugar fast, and I'm trying to find this healthy breakfast.
Good.
Okay. So that didn't require any kind of sugar. So I got on Pinterest, of course, and all of them had sugar additives to these. So I'm like, okay, how can I take this? And I guess you can say I tweaked it a little bit.
See,
too.
it's yours then. I say if you add a tablespoon of pepper and it didn't call for it in that recipe, it's all of a sudden yours.
It's my recipe. Yep.
Okay.
So kind of how I okay, you tell
shoot.
me. No, you're fine.
Well, what do you put in first? Because I probably messed up already.
No, you're good. You haven't put anything in yet. So the first thing I like to do is put in the oats. But the next thing is the milk. So if you want to go ahead and put the milk.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
You just don't, you want the milk to completely absorb the oats.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just pouring in a third cup. I think Sheree, normally I have almond milk, but today I had some coconut milk because it was free on my Kroger coupon list. So
there you go.
So this is, I was saying when I was kind of doing the nutrition on all this, I was saying, keep your almond milk or coconut milk right around 35 calories. This actually has 40, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And I did the nutrition. I'll share that with you at the end.
Yes. So
a third cup of that.
Yes, I usually use the almond milk. You can get the unsweetened vanilla if you want that, and I think it's around that.
It is. It's like 30 or 35.
Or you
that's
can just
usually
do
what I have.
unsweetened that doesn't have flavor additive too. So that it's kind of. However, if you're okay with that, then that's good. That's probably really good. I need to try it. So the next thing you would do, I'll just pour this right in here. You're going to do about a third cup of oats, and I think I did more of a half a cup, but it's fine.
It's okay.
It'll work. Half of it's probably going to stick to.
We'll give somebody a bite.
Your parts just have to be kind of equal with the milk and the oats is kind of how I looked at it. And then, yes.
Did you do the yogurt?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have to say something about this yogurt too.
Oh yeah.
We use this I don't know, how do you say that word?
Oikos.
Oikos. Okay.
We've talked about this.
Yes, the 000. Again, I was looking for something that didn't have the sugar additive, but it's also a really good, I love the vanilla flavor in it. It's a Greek yogurt. It's really good. It gives it that flavor that you're looking for without it being too unhealthy or anything.
And now this one's like, this little container's already been opened because this is what I used to make the first batch. So in your recipe, Sheree, you said like 4 to 5 tablespoons. And so when I did the first 4 to 5 tablespoons for this one that we already prepped, it looked to me like it was just about half a container.
Yeah.
So for just like your reference, I think one of these would make 2 batches of overnight oats,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I usually buy the bigger ones if you want to. If you're
big
used
containers.
if you're used, like, you're going to do this a lot, I would get the bigger ones. You're probably going to save on money that way. But yeah, I would definitely. I'm just going to probably finish this off. I think so. Too. Yeah. I have to say one thing too. I went to Kroger the other day and they were out of this brand, so I'm like, I'll get the Carb Master Kroger brand, which is supposed to be the equivalent to this, and it made my oats really runny.
Yeah.
And very liquidy. So just be prepared. If you have to get that brand or another brand, they may not be the same consistency as this one.
Yep. And then we showed the one that we showed that I think might be closer is actually from Aldi, because Aldi just came out with a high protein Greek yogurt. There you go. Okay. And it is actually a little bit cheaper than this, but the last time I was at Costco, this was on sale. Okay. So I would try either this or the one from the high protein from Aldi, because I looked at the nutrition labels on both of those. I like the Carb Master just for snacking, but I think recipe wise, probably something like this or the one from Aldi.
And it has a good taste too. I really like the Carb Master, but it was just the consistency was more runny, so it made my oats more runny. Yep.
And then you had strawberries, but we had these in our freezer.
It doesn't matter. You use any kind of frozen fruit.
So this is that smells really good. Yeah, it does. So this is just a mixed fruit medley. So she said, 4 pieces of fruit. This has frozen strawberries, peaches, pineapple, and mango. So I just put one of each in there. Yeah. So we'll just use those.
Yeah. And you can kind of tweak this how you want it. Like she said, I was buying the frozen strawberries and bananas, and then I ran out of that and just found strawberries. So, and you can put more in if you want more than that in there. I just feel like that's about the serving size that I think is good, and you're not overeating too. So
I didn't know about this part. Yeah. But you put the lid on. Yes. Emmy told me. Go. Emmy told me, because I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. I make oatmeal in the morning. I didn't know you're supposed to make oatmeal at night. That's why I never got around to doing this, because I kept forgetting. She said, shake it. Yeah. You're supposed to shake it.
Yeah, you shake it up.
So you shake it up. Now, here is the cool. Now, look. I'm shaking that. You see how liquidy that is? Mm-hmm. Well, this is the one that we prepped. Now, look. It's all ready.
That's the one that,
Yep, that's the one that we're ready to eat. Now, I want to tell you one other thing, and I added this to this one. So last week we talked about macronutrient balancing, and I gave you that one little trick about keeping your macros balanced, because that's how your body gets really efficient at burning calories, right? And so that trick was, anytime you look at a food label, make sure there's more protein than sugars. Just that one thing can kind of give you a good indication that technically it's probably pretty healthy. Look at these oats, 5 grams of protein and only 1 gram of sugar. So a good, solid food for your meal plan. In this, to sweeten it, one of Sheree's tips was to add maybe just like a little bit of honey. I think you said a tablespoon or a half tablespoon.
You can even
something
do,
like that.
like a teaspoon too.
Or a teaspoon, something like that. Okay, so I did that. This one has a little bit of honey in it. We're going to try that one in just a second. So with that, just to give you an indication, this is a great breakfast. 175 calories, 2 grams of fat, 27 net carbs, 9 grams of protein, but because of the honey, the sugar's a little bit higher, 11 grams of sugar. So with this one, we decided, well, let's just maybe omit the honey just to see what it does, right? Without honey, this one is going to be 142 calories, 2 grams of fat, lower on net carbs too, 19, 9 grams of protein and 3 sugars. Not a whole lot of difference, but it's just preference. It's just a little preference.
Counting the sugars and everything.
So I'm going to try this.
Okay.
Look at this.
So this is really good too for that busy
Yeah,
mom.
I wanted to say that.
Yes. So, and I guess the reason I wanted to do this, I do not have time to cook breakfast in the mornings.
Wow.
And if I ordered food every morning,
That is delicious. You're missing out if you're not doing overnight
yeah,
oats. I
it's
just
good.
realized that.
Yes, and there's so many different ways to make them. This is just you can take this and tweak it. You can, like I said, add more fruit, less fruit. You're going to get more. I think the biggest thing people are concerned about, they're like, oh, are they not hot? Because oatmeal is
That's what I thought.
usually like hot. To me, if you look at it more like you're eating a yogurt type breakfast versus an oatmeal type breakfast, then you definitely get more. You're okay with it being cold because I don't see it. I mean, it doesn't bother me to eat it cold. So.
Right. And here's the thing too, like she said, okay, that's sitting in the refrigerator. We are really running late.
Yeah.
Nobody's ready. All you got to do, hop in the fridge, grab a plastic spoon, out the door you go.
Yep.
Joe even said to me at the gym one night, because I was talking to him, I'm like, Joe, we need to know what you eat. We got to share this with our guys. He's like, I'm pretty simple. And he said, now the overnight oats, he mentioned them.
Yeah.
He said the overnight oats, I can take those with me in my lunch on my way to work. I'll eat those and I won't be hungry again until lunchtime.
Yes.
So
hold you over for sure.
Eliminates that mid-morning snack. Now I could see having something like this at night too.
Yeah.
As an evening snack, because that is so good.
Yeah.
And if you have 3 or 4 of these jars,
You can do a whole week.
a whole week.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
typically do one per night because I never know. We have a lot of chickens too, so which means we have
He
a lot
said
of
that.
eggs.
I know. Lucky.
So when I am
Got
home,
no
if
eggs.
I cook, we we'll eat eggs. But usually the oats are the way to go.
Yeah. And these literally, they're the staples that you already have in the house.
Yeah,
Typically.
right.
Took me about 3 minutes. It took me longer to find a mason jar than it did to
To make it.
Yeah. So I know, Sheree, this inspired so many people. I mean, I'm inspired. I'm excited about the overnight oats. And you just reminded me and so many people that busy schedules, changes in your life, owning your own business, driving an hour back and forth to church. We forgot to mention that several days a week. None of this has to interfere with your journey.
Right.
None of it.
Right.
Sometimes we just simply have to make up our mind. This is where I was going to say it. No matter what, no matter how, no matter how long, you didn't even know I was going to say this, but you basically said it. God, this time I'm not going to do it. You are.
Right.
You are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it just reminds me, I was thinking of a scripture, taste and see, because this was so good. Taste and see that the Lord is good. He's so good to speak to us when we're listening.
Right.
He's so good to provide for us. He's so good to make sure that when we seek him, we will be in his will.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much. Thank you, Sheree. I can't wait to come out and see you at the salon. We'll have to do a live stream out there so everybody can really get a taste for how wonderful it is out there. So we want to thank you for tuning in. If you've missed an episode, we talked a lot about our past episodes that we referenced a lot of those. So make sure you have the app downloaded or you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because you can go back and watch all of our past shows. And until